Hey y'all, welcome to Alley Cat Customs, where today I'm going to show y'all how to connect stainless steel hose to AN fittings. So I got my C10 project sitting up here on the lift, and I'm doing a whole fuel system upgrade on it. I already have my fuel cell mounted and my Holly Black fuel pump and this big old Jegs fuel filter mounted on it. And I'm running stainless braided hose from the fuel cell down to my fuel pump. And then run a short hose here from the end of the filter over to the side of the frame to a hard line. And I'm going to use a fitting like this, which is a AN fitting that the stainless braided hose goes into. And then it's a couple of joints to go over to a hard line mount. I'm going to run a half-inch aluminum hard line up the frame all the way to the engine compartment on it. So anybody that has ever messed with AN fittings and steel braided line, especially on a steel braided line when you're trying to cut it, knows that it can be a huge pain in the butt. If you try to cut the stainless braided, the outside tries to fray with you, and it's a real pain. It's real annoying if you don't have the right tools. I've seen people do everything from using chop saws to hand saws to grinding wheels and cable cutting shears and all kinds of different ways of doing it. And some with better success than others. And matter of fact, when I started cutting the first line on here, I had my own problems with it. Hadn't messed with stainless braided line in a long time, and let's just say it was a real eventful afternoon trying to get back used to cutting them things out. Matter of fact, I actually got the line fit. I think I did all cut and stuff and ended up with a line that was a half-inch too short right here. So I had to pull the AN fittings off, and so I'm going to use this to show y'all how the AN connection works on the hose to see how well it seals up and what causes it to be such a pain to make it work. So dive into it and show you all the insides of this. So this is what a stainless braided line looks like on the inside. You have the rubber inner liner that has a woven core inside of it. Then you have this outside piece, which is a stainless braided outside sheath on it. So now that you see the inside of the hose, the outside of the hose, you can tell it's got the stainless braided sheath on the outside. And as you can tell, this one's frayed out. That's because I actually used this hose previously, and of course it was too short. You can see that there's a ring, there's two rings on the outside here, and that's where the outer part of the AN fitting slides up. And when the inner part is pushed into the hose, it spreads the hose out and it clamps from the outside and from the inside, and it gives a good strong seal. Really good strong seal. They use all forms of racing pretty much use AN fittings like this. So it's a really nice setup. It's just a pain to cut. And I'm going to show you how to cut this hose so you can make your own stainless steel hoses fit for your AN fittings on it. So I'm going to show you the AN part of the fitting, and I'm going to cut this thing up and make it work. So this right here is what you see on all your race cars and stuff. You'll see big old fancy blue and red fittings like this, or some of them have all different colors, but they all are fittings like this, AN style fittings. And it's actually a two-piece fitting. The red part and the blue part separate. I'm going to unscrew it real quick. And you'll see that the two parts, and then you'll see that the two parts right here, you have the inner side, which is smaller to get inside the hose, and then it spreads out to the thread part right here on it. And when that spreads out, that actually makes the hose, as it slides on, expand out. So when it expands the hose out, it's captured by the inner piece here. So as you can see on this part of the fitting here, you'll see the threads, and just past the threads on the inside is where the rubber hose part butts up against the fitting. And that's where the hose is actually home. It slides up against that part, and it creates a good strong seal. And then you screw the inner blue piece into those threads, and then you tighten the system down, and it makes a good strong seal. And on the back side of the fitting here, you can see a couple barbs, and those barbs is what grabs the outside of the sheath and keeps it from sliding out as you're building the fitting together. And when that catches the outside and you press against it, that's what creates a good strong seal and doesn't allow the hose to come out of the fitting. So now I showed you how the stainless braided hose looks on the inside and out, and I showed you how the fitting works. I'm going to take you to the workbench, and we're going to cut this hose up and connect it to it, make myself a good strong fuel line, and keep my project rolling. So follow me to the bench. So now I'm sitting here at the work table. I can show you one of the most important tools you're going to need, and that's a bench vise. These work really well, especially working by yourself. These fittings can be kind of tedious and cumbersome to work with. So having a bench vise and a good set of jaws to not mar your fittings up works wonders. This right here is a definite no-no unless it's definitely at a necessity. I wanted to build my other fittings this morning, and I hadn't gotten my package in from Jigs yet, and in the package was these fancy little vise jaws, and they're a nylon coating, and they have a magnet on the back of them, so they fit inside your vise really well to not mar your fittings up. But I was in a hurry. I was trying to make sure that I could get the other fittings done right and get started to the next step. So I'm gonna use these instead of a crescent wrench, but definitely one way to do it. If you're in a bind, put a crescent wrench in it. Just be real careful with what you're doing, and you're going to mar them up, but try to limit the amount of scratching and marring of the surface, especially if you care about how it looks. But it works, so that's one way of doing it. I don't recommend it, but as you can tell, I did it already. So I'm gonna take this out, I'm gonna put the vice jaws in, and I'm gonna move on to cutting the line. So the first step of trying to cut this stainless braided hose is to use electric tape like this. People use duct tape, electric tape, masking tape. I find this works really well. The trick is to get this tight. You want that tape that's wrapped on here tighter than Dick's hat band. It's got to be stretched out tight to try to keep the woven pieces together. Tighten it on there. You make a good thick covering over it. Gives it a good uniform part to cut on, and tries to reduce anything that you're cutting through it to try to grab a hold of the steel braided part and fray it out. If it's frayed, you can't use it. It won't fit inside the end fittings. So I'm going to take this up and show you how I tape it. So get to the end right here, and the first part I'm going to go back about an inch back because this has already been used. Get back to a good part of it, and I'm going to cut right here. Take the tape and start. It's about 90 degrees outside, so it is humid as crap inside this shop. So everything is slick. But start the first roll, it's going to be as tight as you can go, and then once you get the tape to grip onto itself, and then you pull it tight, almost where the tape, you can start feeling the tape stretching. You can actually watch the tape stretch, and you can still see the design of the woven part in the tape. As you turn it around, and you keep good and tight, good tight pressure. Keep it lined up square where you're cutting, where you're going to cut at, and make several good wraps on it, and that'd be the best thing you can do. So now that you can see the hose, you can still see part of the design in the tape, and it's got several good layers of tape on it. So now you cut on the tape line, you cut as square as you can down the center of the tape, and that'll give you the best chance to try not to fray this stuff. As you can tell, you can see the cut right there. It's pretty square. I do have a little bit of a burr sticking right here on the back side where I finished the cutoff. I'm going to take care of that before I can put the fitting together. I do have a little trick that I use to do that and get that part off. And this fitting will be good to use as soon as I get and one little burr cut off on it. So what I do when I get the hose cut, if it has some burrs on it, I use a Dremel tool with a small little cutoff wheel on it, and I just go around and cut off the little tips I need to, and make it all look nice and uniform before I cut the tape off. And then when I make it look like I want it to look, make sure everything's good and square, then you pull the tape off, then you get ready to stick the AN fittings on it, and you'll have a good fitting hose. The actual hose itself is pretty square. It's just that one little lip that I showed you a minute ago. So cut the little lip off using a Dremel tool, and be ready to go. I got the other half. I might cut it off. I've already measured how long I need it, so I'll measure it, tape it up, cut it off just like the first side, and then I'll be ready to move on to putting AN fittings on both sides. So now that I got the fuel line cut to the length that I need it to be, you can tell that I have the electric tape still on both ends. Save them from fraying out any worse than they already are until you can get the AN fitting connected to it. So that's what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to separate this part here, then pull the tape loose. I'm going to show you how to get it started, and once you get it started, what it looks like when it's all the way home and ready to put this part together. So there's actually lube and stuff that you can buy to use to connect these. I don't have any of that stuff. I'm just using WD-40. Seems to work for me. I know there's people probably going to say that it's not the right thing to use, this, that, and other, but seems to work for me, and haven't had any problems with it yet. So basically just trying to slick it up some so you can get the parts put together. So I spray a little bit in this fitting, and that way I can wedge the AN fitting into it. And once I do that, then I can start on putting the inside piece in. So that's what I'm going to do right now is just spray a little bit of this spray in it and lube it up. And I just try to get just enough in it, let the rest of it drip out. And once I get the WD-40 sprayed in here, then I'll take the tape loose on here and start the putting it together. So I find the end of the tape here makes it a lot easier. So you got to pay attention when you pull this tape apart so that it doesn't catch one of the strands that might be caught free, and you just pull the rolls and rolls and rolls of tape off. And when you get to the very end, you got to be careful so it doesn't try to pull the pieces out, because all of the pieces that are stuck out, you have to actually wedge them inside of here. And the way this fitting's made, it kind of shrinks down, so it pushes them in, and then it's stepped. The barbs won't allow it to slide out easily, but they'll slide in. So you just work the fitting around, making sure if there's any pieces that are sticking out, you kind of get it all squared away inside there. It's not as pretty as I make it look on the official videos putting these things together, but once you get it put together, get all the pieces shoved in. A few of the strands that you have sticking out, it's easier to slide together. And as you can see, inside the threaded part, if the light will show you, you actually see a little step. And I haven't got it home yet, but I'm gonna keep pushing and kind of twist it and work it in. And now it's seated, and it's seated all the way around. It's got a good smooth seat. Don't see any issues with the way that's made. So now I got the outside piece on here. I'm gonna put the other side on because I got a little barb jabbing me in the hand. So put the other side on and go from there. So like I say, find the end of the tape and spin the tape off of it. Then you can start putting the other piece on. And as you can see, it's pretty well looks nice. I got a couple parts that are sticking out a little bit, so you kind of take and get it most part put in. Start off putting the worst parts in first, and then if you see a spot, you can take your thumbnail or whatever and kind of make sure that it goes home, lines everything up, and once you get it started to where it won't push itself back out, then you can go and and go ahead and slide it all together. And once you get it started on there, and you can see I still have, you can see on the inside here on this one too, you can see that I still have a little ways to go before he goes home. But I'm kind of OCD about how things are lined up. So as you can tell, I got the logo here, and the spin all around, I got the logo here. So as I'm pushing this home, I'm going to cheat a little bit, make sure that it's lined up to where you can see the logo. Because the way it's only sitting on the truck, you can see it from both sides. So I know where I need to go. So as I'm sending it home, my hands done got sweaty. So I'm sending it home. It works in there and pushes good and tight. And that's a good, looks really flush, looks really pretty. Everything's centered inside of it. So that's what the hose looks like. I'm going to go from there. I'll put the end pieces on. So now I got both ends on this hose. I can go ahead and start putting the ends on it. And I got my bench vise set up. You can see that I used the vise jaws to hold the hose as I clamp down on the hose. Try to clamp it from all four sides instead of just smashing the hose when you're trying to hold it still. Try to keep it more uniform and when you clamp it down, so you try to cut it. So I'm going to use this vise. I'm going to slide the hose in here on this vise jaws, and they're magnetic, so you get them close and lined up, and they'll cinch up nice and square. And stick a little bit up so you got something to work with. And you tighten it down like this, make good and nice and square. And again with the WD-40, because I don't have any lube, and this works. So I'm going to lube the hose up some, and lube this fitting up. Make everything slide together real nice and steady. And so I got the WD-40 sprayed on the both ends of the fitting. Got everything cleaned up and ready to put together. When you slide it in, you'll see that it swells out. So you got to put your hand, and I put my thumb on part on the fitting and part of it on the hose. That way I can feel if it's trying to slip the hose out of the back side of the fitting. So you got to put pressure up against it, and then as you push this down, it'll spread the hose out. And you push it down, and eventually the threads will engage. And once the threads engage on it, and then it's just going from there, just tightening it up, and got the threads engaged now, and everything's smooth sailing. You take your wrench, of course, all the A-end wrenches that I got, I bought a little fancy little A-end wrench set. None of the wrenches that I got actually fit these fittings. So back on my raggedy old Carissa wrench, and try to do my best not to mar the surface up. Some people try to put tape inside here, and pretty much all it does is waste tape and waste time, and stand a good chance of trying to round stuff off when the tape slips and the pliers ain't in there good, and round the edge off, and then you just made a worse mess. So just make sure to take your time, and you'll eventually get it. And any little surface marring that you get, well, it's just part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and start tightening this up. I'll make sure it's nice and square. And I'm going to go around, and since I can go all the way around without moving the wrench, it's going to limit my marring of the surface up a whole lot. And I just keep on tightening. And I got my thumb down here as a gauge to make sure that the hose don't try to slide out the back side. So as this goes down the threads, try real hard not to get everything marred up. And it's getting tighter as it's pushing the hose out and clamping everything together. So I'm gonna get it tightened up and show you the finished product. All right, y'all. I got this hose finished up. Got everything tightened up on it. All the fittings tightened up nice and clean, and everything looks good on it. So it's ready to install it on the truck and go from there on it. I start routing the fuel line up through the underside of this truck. So that's gonna be my next part of the project. I hope this video was helpful for y'all. And some of y'all that's never messed with A-end fittings or stainless steel hose, some of y'all trying to start a project similar to this, Hopefully this video was helpful. Hope y'all learned some things. Like I always say, I don't always do it the exact right way, but I do it the way I was taught, the way I learned growing up, gaining experience through the years. So works for me. Hopefully it'll work for y'all, and y'all can keep on working on y'all's trucks and trying to keep everything riding and running nice. So stay tuned, and I'll keep building this, and when I get to more fittings, special fittings and stuff on this truck, make another video, show it to y'all. So stay tuned, like and subscribe at the bottom of the page, and stay tuned because I got an entire build on this truck to go. So I got a lot of things to show y'all, and a lot of things I'm gonna keep on making videos. So I hope y'all enjoy the videos. Hope y'all maybe learning something or just enjoy watching me bumbling around as I build my truck. And when I get it running, I'm gonna be doing a whole lot of burnouts and drag racing and having a good time. So y'all stay tuned. I hope y'all enjoy it. Have a good one.